Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Byravee Iyer, the head of content at Mutant. We've been really excited actually to pull this fireside chat together because, if you know us or have worked with us before, you'll know that we kind of strongly recommend taking an integrated approach using both content and PR to kind of drive, both immediate as well as long-term goals. And the reason we do this is because we've seen kind of firsthand how well this approach works, not just to, drive things like raise awareness, but also to kind of drive lead generation goals, as well as to convert customers. So yeah, really excited. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to our guests today, both of whom are former clients and friends of Mutant, and we've worked closely with them to create big white papers, as well as other related content. So welcome, Fiona and Jing Ying. Very excited to have you. Before we kind of kick off, I just wanted to add that in terms of format, we want to keep this as interactive as we can. So I do have a list of questions that I'm going to run through, but if you guys have anything else to add or you want to ask any burning questions, please pop it into the chat. So yeah, with that, Fiona and Jing Ying, thanks again. I think we can kickstart with maybe if you guys can share a little bit about your current roles and how you view PR and content marketing. Fiona, would you like to go first?
Okay, sure. Oh, hi all. My name is Fiona Chou. I'm currently acting as the CMO of beBit Tech. It is a technology consulting firm focusing on CBP solutions with tractions in Taiwan, Japan, and planning to expand in ASEAN countries in the near future. From my perspective, communications is all about storytelling. We undercover customers' journeys and insert ourselves in their paths and conversations. Thought leadership is a huge part of this, particularly at the top of the funnel. In short, it is a fascinating function to let the world know us and let us know the world.
Great. Thanks, Fiona. Jing Ying, over to you.
Hi guys, I'm Jing Ying. I am the Senior Marketing Manager of Synfindo, which manages the platform called APAC platform. So APAC platform is actually a MAS founded platform that's currently privately owned, and that we are actually the collaborative, innovative platform that regulators and financial institutions all over the world can use to actually accelerate their innovation through hackathons and innovation challenges. So to me, I feel that PR and content marketing are very important pillars in my current role, and in fact, in every marketer's life. Yeah, I think it's really a crucial part of the overall marketing mix. They are both like the parts of, like we always say, there's a brand marketing aspect and there's a performance marketing aspect, but content marketing can be used in both sides of the coin. They can also both be used to drive brand awareness, but yet achieve the business goals that the sales and the revenue, as well as the leadership teams need, which is in the area of lead gen, which is why we are all here today.
Great. That was a great introduction. I want to dive a little bit deeper into kind of what you shared around how you view content and PR. Are there specific examples you can share with us about how you use content to kind of meet your, marketing and business objectives? Jing, would you like to go?
Sure. So I think some examples of how we can use content to meet our marketing as well as business objectives would be really like creating top funnel, middle funnel, and bottom funnel content. Some specific examples would be like white papers. They are very common tactic, as well as resource articles and infographics. I would say across different formats, and there are really many different types of like content marketing pieces. And personally, I feel like content marketing is quite loosely, like we are using it, like I personally use it quite loosely, because you can actually span across digital, social, and even PR channels. You can use this tactic across different channels. So you can use this to actually drive lead gen. You can use it to create thought leadership. You can use this to expand your brand awareness and amplify your brand voice, and to push forward certain agenda and objectives that certain messagings that you want to push out to the market.
Sure. Fiona, is there anything else? Do you kind of like resonate with what Jing Ying shared just now?
I totally agree with her, but I think that before any communication initiative speaking, we need to first find out the product market fit, and then before we can build a thought leadership and distribution strategy to draw the target audience that resonates with the company's vision and mission. And answering the questions like what market are we in, where do we find your audience, or what do they actually need? I think that is very important. So for say, beBit Tech is a CDD vendor, and our target audience will be the marketing decision makers and experts in the field. So we need to first find out our differentiations in the market and create content and attract the target audience we aim for, and then consistently nurture them along every touch points in the customer journey. So for us as a B2B SaaS company, the lead generation is always at the top of the booking list. It is the starting point of creating a predictable revenue for us. So, but however, the point here, we think that it's not about getting more leads, but finding the right ones. So to meet the criteria, we need partners, or we need to create content that meet three things. The first of all is is it relevant or the right content for the audience? And then second of all, is the content bringing value to the audience? And the third of all, are we using the right vocabulary, style, and examples that will resonate them? So I think before, using content to make the marketing business objectives, we have to think about all these things.
Yeah, exactly. For my next question, I want to go back a little bit in time. When we first began working with both of you, we, one of the things that we recommended was doing a big white paper, and to kind of, repurpose that and use all of those content assets across multiple channels. So I wanted to ask back then, what kind of drew you to doing this? What was the big hook? Fiona, do you want to go?
Okay, so I think one of the purpose of content creation is there to catch traffic. But if people there they land on the content, the landing page, and realize the content is without depth, then the company lose all the credibility, especially for the cases for the B2B SaaS companies. And that's why I started to think that creating high quality white papers or trend reports might be able to show a company's thought leadership in the field as a communicator. My former team and I started to do some research scouting on the website and trying to find an agency partner, because we don't have the ability to do that. We even flew to Singapore and other countries to meet with prospects before make a decision before we collaborate with Mutant. Because I have to say that, as we say that we are the friends of Mutant, because they show the professionalism and the creative thinking during the talks, and the slides were neat, clear, and with taste. So, and I used to work in the media before. I can easily tell if a company works by their mission, so that Mutant have all we need at the time, and that's why we started to work together. And it's actually resulted in a huge strike with really good results, and we got really good quality media presence and this after working with them. So that's my part of the story.
Cool. Jing Ying?
Okay, as for ourselves, previously I was at Sleek, so it's really also a B2B company that was targeting business owners and entrepreneurs in Singapore, Australia, Hong Kong, and the UK. So I think one interesting thing I think that Sleek had was that they had a lot of data points, because they are basically a company that helps business owners to incorporate and they do accounting services for them. So there was a lot of interesting data points about business registration rates, trends, and accounting data spends. And I think to a marketer, to me personally, it was really a wealth of information and data points that we could use to tell an interesting story, to really write a trend report that I think not just our target audience, which is business owners and aspiring business owners, will be interested in, but even for myself, I think it will be a very interesting news story to talk about. And I think there was really this curiosity that we wanted to explore, like what could we do with the data that we had in-house to tell an interesting story, together with the data points and the storytelling. Could we create a thought leadership piece? Could we really at the time, I think the company was also going for the next round of funding. So is there a way that we can use this thought leadership, not just of course yeah, there is this like whole like lead gen portion, but it was also about is there a good, you know, with this, could we create a good hero story that we could actually, hero content that we could anchor on for the entire year? Because yeah, there was this like multi-year vision for the report also, that we wanted to kind of create this yearly index report. So like every year, you know, we can actually go back to the same metrics and measure the business owners to see how were the sentiments like. So it was quite I would say the vision was pretty like exciting and ambitious, and it was a very ambitious vision. And I think working with Mutant was very exciting because they understood what we wanted, and we worked together to actually launch it. And it was like a fun pandemic edition of the report. Yeah, and then we subsequently did one more in the following year, and we launched it as well. Yeah, so that was back to the past, what happened then.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think both, all 4 of the reports that we did for iCala and for Sleep were done during the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah. My next question, you know, it relates to these reports that we did. I wanted to talk about, you know, how, you know, people can, obviously, you put in a lot of effort into these white papers. There's, I think in both these cases, it took us, a couple of months to kind of like gather the data, analyze it, and then pull together kind of a structure, narrative, and then the draft, obviously. You know, so there's a lot of effort that goes into it, both on our side and yours as well. So how would you, you know, how do you kind of repurpose this across channels? And you know, in both your cases, what were some of the things that you did to repurpose them? And kind of, was there a big aha moment where you were like, yeah, this is successful and we nailed this? Jing Ying, do you want to take this first?
Okay. I think first of all, like it really depends on your company, like industry also, whether you are B2C or B2B. So that's first of all. And then based on that, you know, you have your different channels of focus. I mean, I'm in the B2B, so I think our main channels will be things like LinkedIn, you know, things like our website, our socials, and maybe events. So for us, you know, like you will start looking, I mean, basically you will start looking at your channels to see which are the channels that you can leverage on. And I think for the repurposing, a lot of people always think about creating a white paper, then thinking of repurposing next. But for us, I think when we started creating the white paper, we already started thinking of it I think at the start of the process and the creative design, we already started thinking about how can we use it for both the big launch as well as the phase 2, which we call like repurposing, like the sustenance phase, where we could actually use smaller parts of the white paper to actually repurpose into it, so that there's a lot of longevity in the content. So I think that really helps to it helps to satisfy the ROI side of things, you know, like, cause there's a lot of effort put into it. So we want to make sure that we can make it last and make it worthwhile, make the content worthwhile. So for us, like how we did it was that, you know, one very big piece can be sliced and diced into many different rounds and formats. You can look at it based on the themes. So for example, if your report has like basically 4 or 5 themes, you can base it on the themes, and you can even create like satellite content, set additional reports and articles that you can use as hooks. Then you can link it back to your big hero piece for people to download. Or you can also do a social first content where you create infographics that are visual or even videos, interviews based on the white paper as a original like kind of like hook. And you can place it on your social media, can place it on your YouTube channels, can place it on your website. So like I feel like the possibilities are quite endless. Like the permutations are like, you can do a lot of things from there. Or you can even like do an email nurturing campaign after they download and follow up and things like that. Yeah.
Fiona?
Yeah, I think the satellite content and the videos are interesting. But in my current team, we'll also select some of the really meaningful and eye-catching content and reproduce it on social media where people might not yet download the content, as Jean said, and encourage the audience to share or redirect them to download the white paper. And we will also highlight some interesting findings and do a press release to let the you know, like the field players or the potential customers know that, oh, we know that you are now facing a problem and our solution might help you solve the problem. So after that, we did receive some media inquiries and pickups after the press release, which gave us, you know, like more chance to communicate ourselves to the stakeholders and the public. And we even received feedback from our partners and our competitors that they consider our marketing team doing, you know, quite a good job, because they see our content on the website, on social, on media, as they say, is everywhere. So I would take it, you know, as a compliment of the aha moment.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of as an extension of that, I mean, a lot of it I can see funneling into sales as well. So do you use these assets then to kind of, convert them into sales enablement content as well?
Yes, we also do that because in our field that the lead generation is a huge thing for us. So we will use a white paper first of all to draw the traffic. Then we will see that if it's the lead, or is it a general lead, or is it a marketing qualified lead, or is it a sales qualified lead. And if it is a sales qualified lead, we pass it to our sales team, and then let them to go to the lead and then see the prospects, see if there's any business chances. So it's quite a common thing in our business.
Yeah. Jing Ying, would you like to add on to that as well?
I think for us, when we did the white paper, one thing that I felt quite important was that internally, I felt it was very important to actually educate the sales teams. So what we did was that we actually told them about the white paper, and when it was launched, I actually took them through some of the pointers. And one thing I think, if the marketing team has time and resources, would be to really teach them, share with them some of the interesting stats so that they can also incorporate it in their own sales sequences. Because some of them, I mean, for those of us who have CRM, right, some of our sales teams, they will write automated emails to their prospects. So you can actually teach them how to use this content from your white paper to put into their sales email sequences, or to even share it as content on their personal LinkedIn channels, or when they pitch to prospects in a sales team. When in the sales call, right, they can actually quote some of our stats. So this is also helping them to be a thought leader to use them as influencers for the company, and to use them as thought leaders to appear more credible. And also, if we call ourselves, then the customers will feel like, oh, not bad, you have those stats and things like that. So that was something that we tried to incorporate in during the process as well.
Yeah, really great insights. Thanks so much for sharing that. I wanted to move on from obviously the work that we've done with you all, but and talk a little bit more about what other brands are doing. Are there specific examples, both I guess B2B as well as B2C, where you see brands doing a good job with content? Jing Ying, do you want to share something first?
I think for me as a marketer, I really like HubSpots. I really like HubSpots. Content marketing, I think they're so funny, but I think as a B2B marketer, sometimes I have to admit that it's a bit hard to push for more atrocious ideas. For example, recently the Barbie, I'm not sure about you guys, but the Barbie, it was Barbie everywhere, and all the B2C brands were having so much fun, playing on the Barbie trend. Everything was pink. But I think for me, I as a marketer personally, HubSpot really speaks to me with their LinkedIn content marketing and their website and all that, their whole CRM, the automated flows. Yeah, so that's for me.
I mean, HubSpot's really the benchmark, aren't they? Fiona, do you want to share any examples?
I also have HubSpot on my list because it's really a great example of content marketing, all the trends, the strategy frameworks, best practices, even the FAQs about CRM marketing. You can find a piece on their website to tackle your pain points. So I think they really do a great job. But another brand that I will think of will be Hootsuite. It is also one of my favorites because they partner with We Are Social and annually release the signature digital trend reports with comprehensive data. I think it's a good example. And also I think that Meta also partner with some good consulting firm and agency to create quality showcasing trend reports with excellent insights. I think it is also a good one.
Great, thanks for sharing. I wanted to come to kind of the elephant in the room and talk a little bit about success metrics. So when it comes to both content marketing and PR, kind of like that integrated approach, what do you consider as success metrics that are important to you? I mean, I think the obvious one is obviously leads and really, strong leads, but beyond that, I guess. Fiona?
Okay. For the preliminary data. We'll see like traffic, clicks, conversions, such as downloads, or we'll also see the PR value in some cases. These are all the metrics that we'll see, in the first stage. But as I mentioned before, because for the lead generation, we will see the lists that we receive, are they regular downloads, or are they qualified lists for the marketing qualified sales qualified lists, or they might not fit our ideal customer profile, but they will share our content to the others. We'll call them the promoters. So we'll also see this kind of metrics. And also we'll keep an eye on like customer acquisition cost, payback period, and lifetime value to customer acquisition cost ratio. This is also very important for us as a marketer. And I will also consider that top of mind is a crucial metric, but we currently don't have a good approach, mainly because the team has too much on their plate. So I think these are all the things that we will see, but we also need, to do something with our partners to make, that everything we wanted to be targeted.
Cool. Jing Ying, would you like to add on to that?
I think Fiona covered most everything actually, except I would say I think one thing that we look at is also customers want, because I think when we launch a white paper, I think I will also, one thing we will do is that we actually work quite closely with the sales team. So I will also ask them like how they feel about the leads that they spoke to, that because when they download the white paper, some of them they want a sales call. So I also on top of quantitative data, we also have a bit of qualitative data. So I ask them like how are the leads from, how is the quality of the leads that came from this white paper, and how they feel about it. Also, because for our data, what we did was we interviewed our current customers and prospects to get the data for the white paper. So a lot of them actually came back after the survey and they said, oh, please keep me, please keep me in the loop. I would love to find out what are the results of the survey that I filled up. So I thought that was to me, it's quite interesting, like engagement method, because usually after they become customers, we just kind of forget about them, or like we don't really engage them, or there is maybe an engagement team that manages that community thing. But like I think you can also see as like a community or like an engagement thing. But I mean, this is definitely like, of course, after you cover all your marketing KPIs, then if you have time, you can do that. Yeah.
Good points. I wanted to touch a little bit on kind of, obviously when we talk about white papers, and especially the ones that we've done for you all, a lot of it is data-driven content. In some of them we'll kind of incorporate customer stories. Do you see this kind of data-led storytelling and content is crucial to any long form piece that you create? As well as, on top of that, the customer success element, customer stories. Fiona?
Yes, absolutely. I think that creativity and data and the customer stories, they weigh equally when it comes to marketing and communication nowadays, especially for the white papers, because you need to leverage data to understand your customers, providing them with quality content and that resonates with them. So you need to ask yourself that before doing a white paper, what exclusive data can you bring to the table? Because I think it is the key to a successful white paper. And what will the data that will enables you to tell a really strong data-driven story that cover the niche, the vertical specific questions that everyone want to answer, but actually no one could or no one has. So I think this is the part of the data that you need and to ask yourself before doing the white paper. Yeah.
And is that the same for you, Jing Ying?
Yeah, so I think for B2B especially, data is everything to kind of educate and convert the prospects. And like personally, I would give an analogy. It's like Thanos and his 5 stones, right? You need data, you need good content, and then you also need customer stories. And because I think like the data is more on like the head aspect, there are some decision makers that might use their logic, like, they need the numbers, but at the end of the day, you also need the emotional aspect, even though we always say that B2B buyers might not be emotional, but I do feel that like the emotional aspect and the social proof aspect is very important in the final, like in the whole, like to put together a persuasive argument, a persuasive social proof for your company and for your brand, together with the other marketing essentials to dominate. Yeah, for marketing domination.
Marketing domination. Cool. I wanted to also talk a little bit about, storytelling within content, right? I mean, oftentimes when you have so much data and, your white paper hinges on data, like the story can get a little bit lost. So how would, talk to us a little bit about how important that storytelling aspect is. Jing Ying?
Okay, so I think I really like what Fiona talked about the ICP at the beginning, so I will bring it to that. So I think at the end of the day, it's about knowing your customers. If you know your customers, then what stories are you able, what kind of data are you going to find? Because the data points that you find is going to relate to your customers, and through that, can you tell the stories that your customers and the decision makers in your in the target persona that the groups of people that you're trying to reach will relate to. So in for example, I'm going to cite another example, which is in my current company, we actually launched like a really, it's a boring topic for marketers, like Asia, it's like Asia digital banks, like trends for banks and all that. But like, what is the storytelling? The storytelling is that basically banks are lagging behind in terms of digital transformation, and how can they keep up? I mean, if you it's a boring topic, but if I share this hook, you immediately will be hooked. So I feel that really storytelling is important within content. If content is likened to a soup, then storytelling will be like the miso that makes the soup interesting, that brings the umami flavor. Yeah, I'm so sorry, my corny jokes, okay, but we're all marketers here, so it's fine. So it's small, but it packs a punch, and storytelling helps customers and prospects to remember the content that you're serving to them. So I mean, that's my take. Personally, I find it important. Storytelling is important to me.
Yeah. Fiona, do you have any anecdotes for us? Food related.
I want to, I totally agree with her, but I would say that storytelling is a miso, because you want to do a miso soup that you think that you're like missing of miso, so you want to find a miso. It is the miso itself, right? Because it's just like your customer, they have pain points, and you want to solve their pain points by telling them a story that they will buy in. So that's the power of storytelling.
Yeah.
Thank you for buying my miso soup, Fiona.
This is going up with my caption, by the way. Cool. Coming to kind of like the content distribution side, right? What are some of the things you do to, I know we have touched a little bit on this, but what are some of the things you do to ensure success? And specifically, what is the role that PR plays in all of this? Jing Ying, go ahead.
Okay, so with PR, I think we got to seed the stories out to the public and really ensuring that there is a lot of amplification in media. And also, I think definitely PR does play a very important part, especially I think getting coming up with angles that the media might be interested in. That's really a teamwork of everybody from agency to client, and then working with the media partners as well.
Fiona, anything to add? I know, when we worked on it, we got some tremendous results from our white papers. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about, how we can go about using PR alongside content.
I think that Mutant did a great job at agenda setting, because the content is just the same for most of the people, but you have to highlight the most juicy part, and change it into the content and the media they will pick up. So it is like an incredible ability, so to let people know more about you, and Mutant has this kind of magic power to let people, the media, the public, and the people to know what we are doing, and by doing the PR releasing. And also I think, if I have to say that, I think that PR can be the syndicator of all the marketing strategy mix, because it can be any point in the communication loop. It just depends on the outcome that we want to achieve, and you can just add the PR in and make it more, as I say, tasty, juicy.
Yeah, definitely. As an extension of that, what role does social media play when it comes to amplifying content? Like, all of us are pretty much living our lives on digital right now, specifically social media. So, how would you kind of describe social's role? Fiona?
Yes, I would see social media as the potential organic promoter of the content because it's a place where your audience hangs out on each platform in, like in a more engaging approach. They can they can likes, they can do comments, they can share. It's more interactive. And after all, the foundation of social media is connecting. So it is a place that you can make people willing to engage with the content and go viral. And then let more people know about you. Yeah.
Jing Ying?
I would see social media as being part of the mix in the content marketing strat. Social media helps to really drive that remembrance and amplification, but you get to own the story. Because if you seed it to PR, right, when you're seeding it, they are the ones telling the story from their brand. But with social media, you get to drive the narrative. So it's like having the story told again, but in your own brand voice with the content piece. And also you can use it to expand your community reach and really drive more followers. And the third thing is that I think it's good to also couple it together with some paid marketing efforts. Like that's where the performance part comes in. Yeah, to amplify it and to put some intention and budget, if you have budget dollars behind that, because you already spend so much effort to create the content. You myself, you can also use that to complement your performance marketing kind of like efforts.
Yeah, great point. And specific to like social media, right? Do you have any kind of tips? And the reason I ask this is because often, brands and businesses are tempted to like, hard sell themselves on social posts. So, and it's not something we necessarily recommend, especially when you're trying to promote a white paper or repurpose some content. So do you have any, specific tips or an approach that you could share, for our listeners? Jing Ying?
I think it's really understanding I know it sounds like I'm a broken record, but it's about understanding your customers and speaking in a way that, they will relate to. And also it's about, I will always advocate for a very content first and community first approach when it comes to organic social. And you can do the hard selling when you are driving you can do the hard selling in your SEM and your performance marketing efforts. But I think for organic social, you should really work on community and work on content. So by content, I like what you said, Byravee, not really hard selling, even though it is hard when you need to push forward your agenda. As a marketer, we also have like other pressures within the company. That's a long story. I won't touch into that. But I think it's very important to really have that space where you can have a mix of both, like if you need to push forward certain like product sales or whatever, you do that, but you need to give yourself like maybe a 20% for experimentation and doing content first. Start with an experiment, and when you have very good results, you can use that to take to your management and say, actually this content first approach, this community first approach works. And I think working and interacting with your on LinkedIn, I feel like if you interact with the people that follow you or comment on your posts, you can also find out more about what they're following, what they're reading, and then see how you can transact or how you can like enter the conversation there in an organic approach, of course. Yeah,
sure. Fiona, do you agree that there is kind of a tendency and temptation for brands to like hard sell on social?
I will not say that there might be a tendency for that, but I would say that it's maybe not that such an appropriate approach because all the audience, they don't want to be hard sell. They don't want any hard selling to do with them. So it's like I think that you have to consider doing the propaganda on the social media. There might be like two purposes. For one of all is for the branding and you like building a community. So you have to think yourself as an influencer. And then, the brand is itself an influencers, and you have to bring the thought leadership to your posts, and bring values to your audience through this, when each time you engage with them. But the other thing that I know that it also has the, the role of, like doing lead gen. So especially for the white papers, and when you do posts on the social media, and in this approach, you have to, like do a decent content, social posts that makes them feel like comfortable. They are willing and they are interested in downloading the white papers, not like hot selling. So these are the two things that I think it's all about the tone and manner, how you write, the post, and how you choose the angle to communicate with them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a happy balance that we can all find with that. I'm coming to like my final questions, and then we'll kind of open it up to everybody else. Couple of last things. What are some of the challenges that you both run into while creating content? Fiona, do you want to take this first?
I would say that it depends, because the dependency lies in team sizes, the maturity, business focus, business stages, and business plans. But however, if I have to mention one, I think that the capability of self-reflection will be a major one, because most of the time we believe that we understand our customers, and we take too many things for granted. However, it is we might miss the fact that we sometimes are creating content with jargon, and it will make our customers lose interest of creating like the no difference content. They cannot find value at all. So in this case, I think we sometimes need assistance from trusted partners to bring us refreshing perspectives, and constantly let us keep the momentum with our target audience.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we also often, we're confronted with like so much jargon, and we try as much as we can to kind of break that down and make it as simple, for the lay reader to read and understand. Jing Ying, any thoughts on this?
I agree with Fiona, and I also thought that personally, I think for marketers who might be in a smaller company or like maybe earlier stage startup, I think some other challenges that we might run into while creating content will be really resources, or like the quality of content, which I did see in the one of the Q&As earlier when you were typing. So I think for me, resources for content creation, like if you have no in-house designer, or like, you have, I mean, very real questions, right? How do you then balance the resources to be able to design, produce good content? How are you able to do that? How are you able to create enough content to repurpose across multiple channels, and also sync them up within the wider marketing strategy while ensuring that all your other marketing operation matters are kind of like taken care of. So I think that's one of the more, like, I would say, real challenges that I faced while creating content. Yeah.
Okay, great. I can see that there's a few questions that have come in. So, and I want to make sure we can get to as many as we can. One of the first questions, someone's asking is, what if I don't have any data? How can I still use content to achieve marketing goals? Jing Ying, would you like to take this?
Okay, so I think that you can always start scrappy and small. So one thing I mean, come from the startup perspective, I think you can always start by, you can always experiment, right? Experiment small and go with, you don't always have to have budget. So one thing I did was that you can always use secondhand data or research from other industry papers first to create a compelling pitch that belongs to you. So the data doesn't need to come from you as a primary source, but the content IP comes from you, and you can use that to create original content or resource or case studies. But you can also have you can take the data from them, but you can also couple it with your perspective or your insights. I think that's one way. Yeah.
Fiona?
Yes, using a secondhand data and do a creation, I think is one of the good approaches. And the other thing that if you don't have data, how about maybe you can do you do it by your own. Do a customer survey, find insights from your customer journey. So you just look deep into your product usage data, see if there's any insights in it, as we did with Mutant before. So I think that all of this can help creating content with data. Yes.
Cool. There is another question kind of on similar lines. So someone mentions that they've actually tried doing a content campaign before, namely a white paper that was repurposed, but ultimately it didn't perform. And perhaps one of the factors was that, there were original ideas and insights and data that was missing. So, broadly, and I think you've touched on this a little bit, but how would you approach a content campaign to ensure it avoids these issues? And I guess they are asking, you've already answered this, but how important is original data and insight to the success of a content campaign? And what about quality of writing? I think that's a good point there as well. Fiona?
I'm not sure. Can you rephrase the question again? Because I'm not sure that am I getting it right?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we have touched a little bit on the answer before, so maybe we can focus on the part around the quality of writing and storytelling within that. How important?
The quality. I think it is very important. It's just as I say, if it PR is, it makes the, like content tasty. How do you think that the agenda setting and, like the storytelling, like ability will be missing to a good, white paper? It's impossible, right? Because even though the data is like so compelling, but if you don't have a good storyline, then people, like you miss at any point because they do just, like go away. So with like good storytelling ability, writing, and also like design, and also the tables to make all, it's all about maybe we can also say is the capability of the curation. You make all like together and make the white paper like have the strong power to draw the people that you want them to like to be engaged with you. Yeah.
Sure. Jing Ying, is there anything you'd like to add on to that as well?
I don't know which industry the person who asked this question is from, but if let's say you are from B2B and you're writing to a niche article and you've a niche audience from a very niche topic and you feel like you struggle to find writers, I suggest you can always look at freelance writers, first of all, and you can also search on LinkedIn for thought leaders who are already speaking on these topics, and you can work with them to guest blog for you. Yeah, so you can always work with them to co-create content, or you can work with companies that are reaching out to the same audiences as you to co-create content together.
Yeah, great point. Actually, someone has a question around co-creating content. Jing Ying, do you want to share a little bit about your own experience with that?
Okay, so in the case of for APICS, right, we work together with Elivandi, who is the organizer of Singapore FinTech Festival. So we did like a panel discussion during SFF last year, and then we gathered like a lot of bank CEOs, Asia's digital bank CEO in one room. Then we got them to talk. So we borrowed their expertise, we borrowed the thought leaders' expertise, but they didn't write the paper, of course. We just borrowed their words, and then we wrote it in, the rest of us minions wrote it into a white paper, and then together, and it wasn't just one company's effort. It was like 2 or 3 or 4 companies' efforts, including APICS. We also had Elivandi, we had Oliver Wyman, who was the partner hosting the panel, and another company. So the four companies actually gathered together to co-publish the content together. So that's one example. That's I would say that's a more like integrated approach together with an event, together with SFF. So a lower level approach that you can possibly maybe also just giving you examples, of course, you can work with, let's say if you're a startup that is targeting fintechs, for example, and then you can find another startup that's also targeting fintechs, but you are giving content on different topics. So let's say if you are very good at you are a co-working space that's targeted, or co-working space or incubator that's targeting fintechs, you can work together with another, let's say Fiona's company is also like fintech, right? Can work together with her company, and she can give her expertise on her topic on your blog, and then you can give her expertise on like co-working spaces on and incubators on her blog, for example. I mean, these are just some ways of like co-creating content.
Yeah.
Experience. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree with Jing, because we also do we partner with some of the local agencies. For example, the CDPs, they are targeting the pain points for the mid-lower solution of the marketing funnel. So we find a partner which target the the pain points of the upper level funnel, and then we co-create a white paper or trend report, because we use both part of the data together and make it more comprehensive. So we share the list together also, and it would be a very strong one.
Yeah, no, these are really great points. Thank you so much. There's one question. I know we talked about this a little bit around limited resources, and I know oftentimes with content campaigns, right? For them to be really successful, you have to be able to scale your content, specifically when you then bring in SEO content into the picture as well. So I guess with the limited resources, oftentimes that startups have, you know, how can marketers justify the need for additional ones? Jing Ying, would you like to take that?
I think, how will you justify the need? I think it's really about making a case for it. Yeah, and really having the alignment with your team, having the alignment with your management team about what exactly does success look like, and how can then we as marketers, we as marketing leaders help our management teams to achieve that success based on the tactics that we can advise them on. So I think like always, I know doing content might be like, it sounds like it's a lot of effort, but I think it's really about balancing that with like, maybe you can do 80% of your strategy that's like, you know, things that are more on the safe side, and then you leave that 20% for experimentation, and that's when you can really try out a new tactic on like a new, like more experimental piece. Yeah, so I think it's really about yeah, and I think like certain things you can definitely justify in your budget, right? Certain things that you can, if you can go scrappy, try scrappy first. If you can't, then if you really need to do something about it, you can work partnerships. So there are also ways that you can get to there without just always just spending money. Of course, like I think you do need to spend that budget if possible, but do spend it like wisely and in a strategic manner. Yeah.
Cool. Fiona, anything to add, or shall we move on to the next question?
I think it's like you have to ask yourself or your management team, what is the purpose of doing this content? You have to start with why, because there must be a result you want to meet, and you need, you know, like the resources you need to go to the end, right? So this is the basic question that we have to figure out first, and then see what we can do.
There are a couple of questions around like white paper fatigue. So I think we can, you know, lump those together and address them. One is, do people actually read white papers anymore? How can we ensure that they do? And the second one related to that is there white paper fatigue? How much, I mean, I guess, and this is kind of like ballpark or more benchmark, how much do you invest in amplifying it? Fiona, do you want to take this first?
I think I can take the fatigue one, because we actually now, because we did, you know, like twice a year with Mutant, if I do not remember wrong, we did white paper twice a year, and then but both of them, you know, each of them, every time it released is go big, so it went big. So I think that for us, there's no fatigue on a case, because we pick the right topic, we have provide the right data, and also we have, you know, like some of the best team to, you know, to do the, you know, all the storytelling and design to draw people's attention. But in my current company, because we now really like release white paper like 4 times in a year, so it might have the chance to do, you know, like make people, you know, like feel that's too much. But also you have to go back to the basis. You have to choose, you know, the right topic and provide them exclusive data that and anything, you know, anywhere else they won't have this kind of data and insights. So then they will still, you know, come and then download white paper. So it's all about, you know, like knowing who you are and knowing what you have, and also understanding your customers, and also you need to have the right resource.
Definitely. Jing Ying, I feel like you definitely have some thoughts on this.
I feel like the fatigue comes from the marketers that create the white paper. Just kidding. But I think that the term white paper is very overrated. Like maybe we always think about white paper and we think like, oh, it must be this PDF that you download, you know, it's locked behind and gated. But I feel like we can take ourselves out of the box of white paper and ask ourselves, like, what content should we invest? What content should we do so that our audience would want to trade away their email address so that they can download this content? Because you can ask yourself the same thing, like, why would I subscribe to Netflix? Why would I pay for a paid newspaper subscription? Because their content is interesting, their content is compelling.
Yes,
You knew something that you didn't have. That's why you want to pay a price for it. But in your case, like, you think of yourself as like that content provider, like what will you give so that they can give their emails and they will think that your content is your content is valuable.
Yeah, great points, both of you. There is a question, and I think it's an important one. So obviously, within content, there's a thought leadership element, and we know that that's important as well. But many times, kind of getting that buy-in from your senior leadership or just your spokespeople to do it can be a bit challenging. So how do you kind of, I guess, approach that? Fiona, would you like to go first?
Is it like PR? Is it because can you rephrase the question for me again?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess when we talk about thought leadership pieces, we mean like, repurposing white paper. White papers itself are thought leadership pieces, but I guess, repurposing those pieces to get spokespeople to kind of talk about that and highlight that, across, whether that's earned media or whether on their LinkedIn pages, to get them to kind of share a little bit more.
So maybe Jing Ying can go first, and then I can add on.
Okay. So in your case, anonymous attendee, your question would be PR is more of a must-have, but content is a nice-to-have. But I think the situation does vary from company to company and what your management team.
Yeah.
Because in certain companies, content is a must-have, but PR is a nice-to-have. So I guess it really depends, right? I think with smaller budgets, then you just have to kind of come to an alignment, I guess. What are you measuring when it comes to content? Like your content can be also measured, you see. Like the thing is that content can be measured. You can measure it with SEO. You can measure it with how well your content is ranking. You can measure it by your site visits and your social engagement. And all this does play a part in driving both brand awareness and the leads part, which is more on the whole budgets and measurements that fall into place. So I think I would say it's about how are you placing content in your entire marketing mix. Yeah, because every company is different, right? Like how the percentage of every pillar, every pillar, like let's say performance, PR, content marketing, content creation, like how you manage your budget, how you manage your marketing mix is different. So it's really about understanding what does success look like to you as a marketer, and how does that translate to your business objectives, and then you decide. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. I think I figure out why I'm still thinking of the question, because in my cases it's vice versa. People in Taiwan, they know the value of content marketing. They not be that familiar with the value of PR. So that's why I have a little bit confusion about that. But for me, both of them, they are equally crucial, because if you don't have good PR, you can't get the thought leadership you want. You are not the best in the field, so that will make you a lot of fractions that when you are moving on, when you are communicating with the others. And if you got the thought leadership in the field, you have the power of agenda setting. Then your speaks means your words means something. But on the other hand, for the content marketing, it is about nurturing, because you need to educate the market. You need to let your stakeholders know about you, know about your products, know about your values, and it's a very long-term thing. So I think both of them, they are equally important, and we have different budgets for different kinds of purpose of communications. Yes, yeah, so that's why I'm so confused, because in Taiwan it's not like that. Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing, right? How different markets kind of view different challenges. Yeah. I think we have time for kind of one final question, and this was around white papers. Of course, they're relevant for your specific target audience. But how do we, if your target audience is kind of the younger generation that prefers more bite-sized content and video content specifically, how do we make these white papers relevant to them? Jing Ying, do you want to go?
Define younger generation, like what, Gen Z? I mean,
it's not defined, but I guess I would Gen Z.
Yes, older people also like bite-sized video content. But anyways, I think that it's really about like who's the decision maker, right, for the product or service that you're selling and how you're speaking to them. So I think that it's a very like, how to say, like I'm sure you will be able to find a way to repurpose it into a video. Like it's about how you can position this channel in your entire like content like amplification. So it can take a form of like an interview article, but you can also do an interview. But in the interview video, you can also like do something like hot fire questions, with like in the case, let's say we are I'm targeting fintech startups, for example. I can do like an interview with them with a vertical video format and things like that. And I feel like it's about I think that it really comes from your initial planning, like who are you speaking to and how can you break down the information. But like, let's say I don't feel like younger generation can read content that's compelling. Like I feel like if there are insights that they will love to unlock that will help them in their decision-making process. Let's say they are buying something for their company, they are part of the decision-making committee. I'm sure that they will be able to kind of relate to that. So it's just about how can you put some content in front of that white paper or around that white paper, around that content hub that brings them in. So you can look into that. Or you can even look at podcasts, for example. I think podcast is quite an interesting educational content channel. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think, we have a couple minutes more, so I think we can squeeze in hopefully 2 questions, but let's see. Someone asked a really good question. Can content marketing success be measured without complex or expensive technology? Fiona, would you like to take this?
Can content marketing success with measure with complex or expensive tech? Yes, because I think content marketing has long, is there and here, and also there before we have complex technology. So storytelling is already is like already there before like we all were born. So I think but the power of storytelling, we all can't deny that. But it's with technology, then we can make the data, we can have the data, we can make things, the metrics we want to get and make it more precisely and also quickly. But it's not about that if we don't have a lot of clicks, a lot of traffic, and then it means nothing. For example, if a journalist he or she write a good piece of an article, and a lot of people share that it makes impact to people, it's also good content, right? So I think it's not either or.
Yeah, that's a great point. We have one last question, and we'll take Eunice's question. I think it's a really good one, and it's around who usually drives the white paper, right? I mean, how do you manage when there's a disconnect between PR and marketing on the quality of the white paper? For example, PR needs a news angle, while marketing is more concerned about leads. Jing Ying, would you like to take that?
I think it needs to be integrated. And I think like I'm happy to say that I'm in a role that can like drive both. So it's not much of a disconnect when you don't have like big teams that are like one is PR, one is marketing. But I think it's about coming to a consensus about, I don't think they are like I don't think it's more like you can do one without the other. I think both are very important. And if there is an angle, then there will be leads. And it's about having it's like what Fiona said, right? At the end of the day, you need to know like what your customers want, what they are looking for, and what the news wants. And then, you draw that Venn diagram, and then you find that sweet spot in the middle, and then you come up with something there. Yeah. And then that also drives the success metrics for both teams. So it's about, like, at the end of the day, it's always about alignment and intention, and that drives success for everything that you do. Yeah.
Thank you. Those, I mean, amazing points across the Q&A and just, generally this full hour. Thank you both so much for taking the time and, speaking to us so candidly and, sharing all of like these best practices. We really appreciate that. Thank you everyone for joining us. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.